asking people how they're doing and start asking people how they're feeling.
So I gotta make sure I'm watching the news.
I will never waste pain that's offered to me. Nothing is ever wasted.
Everybody that I gotta plan a week gon' be straight. And that we tie that red that you won't hit, so you better not be late.
This is a place of development, and I'm not gonna die here.
Cause I love it, I don't care about the fame.
Yo, welcome to the Young Vagabond podcast, where we endure the journey of life together through truth and love. I'm your co-host Bryson.
And I'm your co-host DJ.
Yes, sir. And this is season 3, episode 2. Cover your heart and tie your shoe, because what we talking about today, DJ?
We talking about love. Man.
Truth and love.
Truth and love. But we gonna emphasize the love today. Travis, could you pass me them fruit snacks, please? That's so embarrassing, bro. You know, I had like a whole smooth thing. I'm gonna be like, see, I asked him to pass me the snack because I am the snack. But no, it's ruined. That's hilarious. Anyways.
Bro, like when y'all did that off camera, it was like so smooth.
It was because he had it higher, bro. Like it went up higher, man. We practiced it and everything. That's so embarrassing. Hey, we gonna recover it though, but we good. You know, that's how we sharp. Because really, you see, this is actually a window into what love a lot of times looks like. See, we think in our head that's gonna go perfect with no hitches, but the fact is we're all human, and so things never go how you plan it. And it's about, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna let that mishap stop you from loving the person who you love, or are you gonna work through those? Because that's what a relationship really is. It's work.
Oh man.
Y'all made something out of that, you know.
Y'all done messed up. We got Dr. Love on the podcast today, my boy, Dr. Love. Checking in on the ones and twos, Dr. Love. Coming at you as graceful as a dove.
That's good. All right, man. Look, man. I'm excited for the topic. It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
It's gonna be great, man. But first off, of course, we gotta remind y'all, please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, those platforms. Also remind, merch is available at 224.co. That's TWO24.co/Young Vagabond. If you would like to support us and get some dope merch, we'd appreciate that. Also, there's a Cashapp and PayPal available if you would like to give and support our mission of helping people navigate the journey of life through truth and love. Also, that's pretty much it, actually. Wait, also, shout out Travis. Duh. Come on, DJ. Shout out to Trav.
Especially for them fruit snacks.
Especially for those fruit snacks. And, you know, give me the leg up for the lesson. I just, you know, praise God. But shout out to Trav, our man behind the screens. And shout out y'all, of course, every day. Appreciate y'all for supporting. That first episode hasn't come out yet, so we don't know how well it's going to do. But if I know y'all, which we do know our fellow tribe members, man, we appreciate y'all, and we know y'all about to blow it up for real. So we're not even worried about it. So shout out to y'all, and shout out to the first episode and second episode. And, man, it's exciting times, man. Shout out to the tribe, man.
Shout out the word, shout out.
Shout out that word, man. Shout out. Anyway, I'm super excited, Bryson, to get into this topic because, you know, what do we got coming up, man?
Man, it is almost the end of cuffing season. So everybody's turning into Damian Lillard. 5 seconds on the clock, a little tween sidestep, full court heave, seeing if it's going in and if it goes in. Valentine's Day is going to be very sweet, my friend.
He coming at it with the ball.
In godly context,
in
of
godly
course.
context.
Yes.
The only thing we're going in is the word.
All right.
Anyway. So, anyways, yeah, you know, we're going to talk about love, man. Talk about relationships. This is the highly requested topic that we've heard people want us to talk about a lot. It's something that's really difficult to navigate, no matter how many you've done or how few you've done or how many relationships you've watched or if you come from a good home, bad home. Humans are complicated, so it is a difficult topic to navigate. But before we get into that, man, you know how we start off these episodes. I got to first ask you, what has been your favorite conversation of the week? We're going to try and go a little bit faster since we're going to talk about love.
I got you.
It's take a while, but
yeah, this one pretty quick. But actually, my favorite conversation from this past week involves very few words. Yesterday, I was at the LSU Mississippi State women's basketball game. We won.
Shout out.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out all the women's team. They balled their tails off. And I was sitting in the stands with my Young Vagabond hoodie on and a Mississippi State flannel. And Bully came up to me and he was like, put your white shirt on. He can't talk because he's the mascot. So he just, directed me to put my shirt on. And I flagged him. I was like, I got the Mississippi State joint on. And then he saw the Young Vagabond hoodie and he pointed and he was like, I listen. He was like, I listen. And then I was like, nah, I got my shirt on. And then Tamai was like, no, Bryson, he's telling you he listens.
Dude.
And I was like, oh, snap. And then he pointed at me and he was like bowing down. So he was like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, bro. So shout out Bully, man. I really hope you see this. I really appreciate you because you made my day yesterday. Dude. Shout out Bully.
You just made my day.
Bully listens to the podcast.
I know, bro. That's so dope, man. I just talked to somebody actually today who I've never met before, but she was like, I see you on Instagram. I was like, no way. I think that's just so, I'm just so thankful to God. Because, that's what it always goes back to is all glory to God. We're not trying to make ourselves famous. We're ultimately trying to make the one who gave us this mission and is the savior of our lives, man, famous. But man, that's so encouraging and cool. So we don't know who he is or she is, man. But the fact that that God was able to get that, whatever content to that person, man, that's so cool, man.
Shout out Bully, man. Shout
out Bully, man.
Bully, you really made my day, truthfully.
Dude, that's what's up. So thank you. For me, man, it was actually the conversation we had at the union this past week. It was me, Trav,
dope,
Bryson, and Lonzo. Right? Shout out Lonzo. But we talked about different things, actually a lot that we'll probably even kind of retouch back on in this episode because we talk about relationships, specifically the manosphere and, that whole world of social media and how it's really negatively affected young men. And then, we talked about theology and we talked about just different things along that line. And I think that was just a really dope conversation. And, since we're getting older and more involved and stuff like that, there's not as many times that we just sit down and we just talk like it used to be. And so just spending that time just chilling in, the union for several hours, man, not thinking about homework or this organization I got to be at or whatever. That was just really dope. So I really enjoyed that. Love you, my brother. And shout out to Trav, giving him an air, dap up. But man, look, like I said, without further ado, we got a lot to talk about. Like Bryson said, it's almost the end of cuffing season. And I think this episode's really cool because it offers two different perspectives as I hope you don't mind me sharing this. But
you good, bro.
Yeah, Bryson is in a relationship. I am single as of now. Just letting the ladies know. But anyway, single as of now. And I think it is a dope perspective that we can both offer, speaking towards how to navigate having a healthy relationship in that household, navigating how to have a healthy single season.
Yeah.
And so, man, if you want to, without delving too much into personal details, what's your journey through love been like?
Oh, man.
We got a story for you.
Sheesh. If Verge was here, he'd tell you that doesn't take like 2 hours. But man, I've only been in 2 relationships, so that should tell you something. But yeah, so God forgive me. Like no discredit to anybody. You women of God, you deserve the world. But jeez. Okay. All right, we back. So I got into a relationship when I was in high school for about 2 years. 2 just very immature people. So we didn't really know what love was, didn't know how to properly love each other. And it was a lot of insecurities that riddled their relationship. And it pulled me from a lot of things that I was involved in high school. So it was definitely it was a tough time for me, you know, learning to navigate and deal with that. Especially me being as young as I was, I thought I was doing the right thing. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing, basically. And looking back on it, I can definitely tell, like, that was them, what they call them, teenage hormones kicking in. Little dude need to sit his little tail down, but
I understand it, Mom. It's not a phase.
Nah, for real. I was, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I get out of that relationship. I spend a good amount of time single, and then I come to college.
Yeah.
And freshman year, what was it, spring semester, I end up talking to a person, and that didn't go as planned. You know, some things went wrong or whatever. But you know, it's all lessons learned.
Right.
And it was short, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But it was definitely some lessons learned. And then I was like, you know what? I'm finna be like Paul, bro. Single.
Right.
Like, forget relationships. Like, forget it, we ball. You know what I'm saying? So I just took a lot of time to start locking in on my faith, locking in on my purpose. And lo and behold, like, not too long after that, I started noticing the girl that I'm now with. Yeah. Amazing woman of God. Started noticing her. We became like real good friends. We had known each other somewhat. It's crazy. Got introduced to each other like back senior year of high school through a statewide organization that we were both a part of. She didn't see my face until like 3 months after seeing my name because it was 2020. I ain't have no chop. My hair was looking bad, and I'm not finna let you see me looking dusty on the camera from the what's the name, the laptop. You know what I'm saying? So you gonna hear this voice, but you ain't gonna see my face.
Right.
So crazy thing, we end up getting into the same scholarship program. Both come to state. Yeah. Then we were friends. Well, we talked to each other in passing, and then details kind of fade me. I'm getting old. No, I'm not. I'm 20. What am I talking about? But
just be careful, man.
No, you're
getting wrong. It's not gonna be good.
This man, but we end up coming to college, went our separate ways a little bit. Yeah. And then, like I said, spring semester, we started back, you know, getting around each other, getting to know each other more. Yeah. That whole summer, got to spend time walking in purpose while also getting to know her more. And then October 1st of 2022, she became my girlfriend.
Dude, that's what's up.
It's been a year and almost 4 months.
Yeah. Dude, that's what's up. No, I mean, I think there was a couple of things that I even want to unpack from what you said, just from your journey.
This ain't Amazon, bro. Be careful what you unpack. I'm just messing with you.
Oh, man, I think a lot of people can probably relate or have a similar story to maybe even which you have, and then there's also a lot of people who can't. But I think there's say it like that. I don't mean like I can't. No, I mean I think even in that there's a lot of lessons. I think one thing that you said that I think is dope is maturity. How important of an aspect that is to a healthy relationship, and I think I just want to dive into that a bit more. What do you think, like for you, was an important factor of developing that maturity for a relationship? Because you can develop maturity in different areas, whether it be your career or you know, academics or something like that. But to become to a point of relational maturity, where do you think really helped you get to that point?
I got you. So one thing I had to realize, and I could be wrong on this, but in my personal life, I equated spiritual maturity to relational maturity. So I was like I said before, I was locked in with my word, locked in purpose, but relationally, I wasn't the most vulnerable. I wasn't just really vulnerability was
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me. And I thank God for the relationship I am now. Like, she really, like, pushed me to open up and just be honest and vulnerable. So I think being patient with yourself and then realizing that even when you're single, right?
Yeah.
Realizing when you're single that you're going to have to let down the walls. And you can start now within friend relationships.
Yeah.
I can have a vulnerable conversation with you, and that gets me, I guess you could say, like, primed to have other vulnerable conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, just maximizing what you have now and learning to be vulnerable is the biggest thing that I learned in relational maturity.
Dude, that's good. That's really good. I think there's a couple of things that like I really want to speak to. I think first off, the hope of a relationship. Sorry, I burped. The hope of a relationship, I would say for most people, is to end up in marriage, right?
Yeah.
And I would even go ahead and speak to someone who may not relate to that. If the goal of a relationship isn't for it to be forever, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because why would you ingrain yourself with another person when that has an end date, right? So if the goal, and this is not to fear anybody to say, hey, don't get into a relationship unless you're just super sure it's going to work out, because you can never be super sure. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But if you're, man, I'm just, we're just doing this for fun. I don't want anything for real. You're intertwining your lives, and man, you're leading yourself to a place of where it's going to be a lot of hurt, right?
Yep.
And so I think I want to speak to that first, man. All this relationship advice that's going to come from both me and Bryson is going to be under that bulwark or that what's the word? Assumption that you are pursuing a relationship that will be forever. Because I think if you don't, man, it's just setting yourself up for a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to say something to that effect first. And then also, like I said, I really like how you talk about this aspect of vulnerability, and that it starts before you get into a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, just in general for everything, as we'll probably talk about later, but vulnerability specifically, you have to practice vulnerability with friends, with family, before you're able to practice it with a significant other to a great ability. Like that shouldn't be your start point, right?
Yeah.
Like if that's your start point, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to do a whole lot more work, right? And so if you have all these guards up, right, people can't get to the heart, so they can't speak to the heart if all these guards are constantly up. And so whether you're in a relationship or not, I mean, I think that's wisdom right there, man, is be vulnerable, right, in your relationships. And that doesn't mean you got to trauma dump on everybody about all your problems. No, that just means finding people who love you, who've shown fruit, that they care about you, and be open and honest with them about your struggles, about your mental health issues, about the addictions you may be dealing with, your past trauma, whatever it is, man. Be open and honest with them.
Yep.
Because a community, I mean, they're great for multiple reasons, but they're going to be the type of people to call you out, right, when you're not stepping up to the plate, when you're not doing what you're supposed to, right? But if you have all these guards up and, you want everyone to believe you only have strengths, you have no weaknesses, man, you're setting yourself up for a world of pain and failure in your relationship, because if the only voice in your head is you have no accountability, And so vulnerability is extremely valuable. Like, I mean, we had our whole episode about that, like for that reason, season 1, episode 3, by the way. But that's because it's valuable, man. And I think that even leads, we talked about when we had our conversation at the union, we talked about kind of the rising up of the manosphere, which for those who don't know what that means, that's the, Andrew Tate TikTok side, right? And it's that counterculture masculinity of we're taking manhood back, right? But it leads down to this toxic form of masculinity, and one of the biggest aspects of that is never letting anyone know your weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
Pretending you don't have weaknesses. And so, as a man, man, like one of the strongest things you can do is be willing to be weak, to admit to being weak, right? Like if you can never show your weakness, and if somebody challenges you in your weakness and you get defensive, that is more of a fruit of weakness, a sign of weakness, than any portrayal of all your macho strength will ever be. Like you have to be willing to be honest about your weaknesses, to be meek in how you interact with people, to experience that ultimate growth and to have the healthiest types of relationships. And so, I don't know, you talk about this word meekness a lot. You have before. And I want to ask you, like, speaking more to that, like, especially in a culture that, one side of the culture being this obsession with, macho-ness and masculinity and in kind of that manosphere space. Where do you think we need to get back to meekness, and like what does that look like,
Yes, we do need to get back to meekness. I was just talking to my girl about this earlier today. Actually, as a man, I think we tend to struggle with pride a lot more than, women. Women can be prideful, but I think men specifically tend to struggle with pride a lot. And we're fighting fire with fire. It's like you said, their response to essentially getting manhood back is pride.
Yeah.
But what they feel like is getting stripped away from them is pride. So, like, how do you fight pride with pride? You can't do that.
Yeah.
But meekness is strength under control. It's basically saying, yo, I have the wherewithal to say something. I have the wherewithal to do these things, but I'm not going to do them because ultimately it's not going to produce good fruit.
Yeah.
And, like, we have to let go of the pride of being a man. Be a man, yes, but a true man is not what we think, is not what society puts upon us.
Right.
Jesus was a true man.
Yeah.
And one of the strongest verses in the Bible is Jesus wept.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Paul was like, I boast more about my weaknesses because that's where God's strength shows up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, if you don't allow other people to see your weaknesses, then they can't truly love you because they're only loving to fake you. They're only loving to fake you because if all I do is show you how great I am, then when I fail and I shrivel back and hide and I don't give you an opportunity to love me, then you're not loving me. You're just loving my success.
That's good.
And I'm speaking from personal experience because like I've had bouts with perfectionism a lot in my life, right? So I remember when I first got into my relationship, like anytime I felt like I did anything wrong, I had a high propensity to stonewall. And I would immediately like retract emotionally and just dial back. And that create a blockage within my relationship with my girlfriend, right? Of course it is, because I'm blocking off what she really wants is just me, is my true emotions.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting here, oh, you can only see me in my wins but not my losses, then I'm not really allowing her to love me at all.
Dude, that's so good. I think that gonna help a lot of people. Like, 'cause I think that's manhood, like that. You have these two sides of what culture projects as manhood is like a retraction from responsibility, and then but on the other side you have this almost godlike persona they think a man has to take on, right? Like that they have to be self-sufficient completely, need nobody, don't share any emotions, right? Like all those things. It's us trying to say, no, I got this, right? I can do it myself. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's pride, right?
You know who said I could do it myself? Satan.
Yeah.
And he failed.
And where he at? Like, man, and I think that's so right. Is it talks about in Proverbs, pride goeth before the fall, right?
Yeah.
Everybody quotes that, right? But are you living it? Are you keeping that intentionally in your mindset every day, right? Because I mean, I interact with a lot of men and women just because of the nature of my personality. I love people, so I just interact with people, and then it's just college, right? And specifically, anytime, on the pod where we have addressed something in the realm of relationships, I get responses from, people telling me this or that, right? And, there's a lot of men with this attitude who I've talked to of basically like, I'm the prize, right? A woman needs to chase me, right? And it's like, man, why is that your focus, right? That's not what it's about, right? This American Western culture of dating where it's like man, I gotta chase and then they gotta chase, I'm the prize, man. Like, but if we humble ourselves and we say, man, what a relationship, what a marriage is supposed to be like the modeling of the relationship Jesus has with the church, with his people, right? And if that's ultimately, and that's what we believe, and so if that's ultimately what we're pursuing, it's not it's a chase, it's submission, right? Like I recently listened to this podcast called Theology in the Raw, right? It's by this man Preston Sprinkle. I'm gonna search up his name just to make sure.
Yes, sir. Shout out Preston Sprinkle.
He's a theologian. He's wrote dozens of books specifically on like sexuality and gender and concepts like that. But just a brilliant thinker. Anyways, I was listening to this podcast episode and he brought on this linguist, and they were talking about like the Ephesians 5, which talks about wives submitting to their husbands and stuff like that, or them being the head, men being the head, right?
Yeah.
And I think he offered such an interesting view because, I mean, like, I don't have time to like really go into the intricacies of like cultural and like why Paul used some of the language they use with regard to like traditional family codes and working within that cultures. But he's basically, due to the culture, to not cause a super amount of social upheaval, he affirms, and this is kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but this is kind of what Preston's theory is, right? This is not confirmed, right? Yeah. But like he believes Paul affirms, men as the head, but then redefines what the head is supposed to mean, right? So it is like, yes, you guys are the head, right? You guys are, like there's submission happening, right, under the woman, but that's not, like, it's not the secular understanding of what submission means. Because when we hear submission, we think, less than, somebody's of lower value. No, what he goes on, Paul in Ephesians goes on to talk about in, Ephesians chapter 5, right? He talks about how we're supposed to love as Christ loves the church, right? And then he paralleled with talking about Philippians, where it talks about how Jesus became a slave for us, right? And so when you look in that context, it's like, okay, you're supposed to be a slave for the person who's submitted to you, right? Because submission it's completely turned upside down of what it's supposed to mean. And so we see a lot of people, specifically in the manosphere, weaponize the Bible to push like a misogynistic message of women are lesser than or lower, right? When it's like, that's not what was meant to be communicated in the first place, man. And so we got to get out of this, man, I'm of higher value or someone's of lower value, or even, reversing it, me as a man seeing myself as a lower value and women as the higher value. That's not where we want to get. The equilibrium is seeing each other, right, as equal image bearers of God, right? And pursuing a relationship that models and looks like the church. And I think that, like you said, it starts with a vulnerability, it starts with maturity, and it starts with just having, redefining what relationships are supposed to look like. Because like I said, we have what culture pushes, and what culture pushes is a lot of times unsustainable and toxic. Yeah. Like, seldomly, like, especially in high school, seldomly did I view a relationship that would go, yeah, I want that type of relationship. And of course, there's outliers every time. But I think, man, like, we push this, hypersexualized, transactional understanding of love, where it's, you do this, I buy you the ring and you have sex with me. Or, I take you out to dinner and, we do this, it's this and that, right? It's transactional when that's not what love is meant to be, right? That's not what love is modeled And what we believe, who is the author of love, right? That's not what he models. He models submission. And so, man, I just would pose that question to our audience who are in relationship is how have you and how are you submitting to your significant other, right? Are you seeing the approach as my needs first, right? And how can they actualize my needs? Are you saying, how can I help realize their needs, right? How can I help serve them, right? And I think we'd have a lot of healthier relationships, not even just in the romantic sense, but in the friendship sense. I believe one of the reasons our podcast, we work so well together is that we're looking actively to serve each other, right? And, you know, we make mistakes and there's problems here and there, but there's not this animosity of like, okay, I do this, so you do this, you do that, so I do this, right? And there's, you know, organization that we have and stuff like that, but it's not transactional. And so, man, that's that question is like, what are you doing to serve?
Yeah, I think we got to stop relational capitalism and treat people like people and not products. Treat people like people and not products.
That's a bar, right?
And you talk about how, you know, the manosphere, right? They try to compare men as superior, women as inferior, right? There is no charity in comparison. There's no love in comparison.
Yeah.
Right? In the Bible, it like, you know, it lays out the man is supposed to be the head, the man is supposed to lead, right? But as you mentioned before, Christ was the head. He led, but he died for who he was leading. So like as a man, you're called to die. You're called to die for whoever your significant other is. It's like, how can I die for you today? How can I help meet your needs today? And that's the same mindset she has to go into as well. It's like how you said your parents modeled is, how can we outserve each other?
Yeah.
Because we can sit here and be like, you know, oh, I'm in this relationship because I want this from you. I want this from you, this, that, and the third. But like, when do we ever just sit back and be like, okay, how can I give something to you? How can I give back to you? How can I serve you? Because society pushes, this is all about me. Life is all about me. But in reality, when you get into a relationship, when you get into any relationship, friend, platonic, whatever the case may be, it is more so about the other person than it is about yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can focus so much on yourself and, you know, I don't know, you know, love ain't got pride in it.
Yeah.
Just straight simple. Love ain't got pride in it. So you can be prideful, focus on yourself and lose that person.
Yeah.
Or you can be selfless and focus more on your person and just like serve them, love them. Because that's where true love is. True love is serving. True leadership is serving leadership.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think
that's how I see it.
The thought I had is that a relationship built on your needs is a relationship that's going to be rocky, right? Because your needs, you know, in quotations, are always shifting. What you understand and what your needs are always shifting because we're human, right?
Yeah.
And so if the focus is always on you, then the only person you'll have is you. You know? Because if you're getting into relationships and like I see it a lot where, you know, relationships will end and the question will be like, okay, you know, what happened? And it's always, this person didn't do this for me. It's never about, man, I was being toxic here. I wasn't serving her in this capacity, right? It's, she didn't do this for me, so I'm leaving, right? And like, even like when we look at cheating, right? Like when people step out of relationships, like my personal theory, right, of why I see people stepping out of relationship is because as the novelty of another person wears off, right, and you start dealing with things where they're not able to meet your needs and wants, if you don't have integrity and then you are not, if you're only looking to yourself, then you'll start looking for other people to satisfy those needs and wants, right?
Yeah.
And that leads to justification of, okay, I'm gonna step out this relationship. I'm not being satisfied sexually, so I'm gonna step out of this relationship because that's what I need. I'm not being satisfied emotionally, so I'm gonna step out and start doing these things because that's what I need. I'm a cheat because that's what I need, right? But that's not what a relationship is about. And if you make the relationship about you, all you will have is you. And I think that's extremely, like you said, powerful, man. And I don't know. It actually sparked another thought of something. This is a little bit of a pivot from what we're talking about, but I think it's an interesting thought. Because I've once again talked to a lot of people who will say, "Man, I don't know what happened. He seemed like a nice guy, and then he turned out to be, this or that, or she seemed like she was a good girl, and then she turned out to be this and that." And I used to have back in my high school days, used to have the nice guys finish last type of mentality.
Bruh,
Girls only
me
want
too,
bad
fam.
boys.
I remember them days, bro.
And I think a lot of men go through that. And I think there is truth to that in a sense. Not in if you're a nice, good guy, you're never going to get a girlfriend unless you start being a horrible man, because that's not true at all, right? I have enough anecdotal evidence of people in my personal life who I know are amazing men, this guy included.
Thank you.
Right? Who they have wonderful, life-giving relationships that are to be, I want to model my future relationship whenever that is after. And so that's not the case, but I will say, I think the case is that when you are a genuine person, it takes longer. And the reason I say that is because you're not faking who you are. Like, if you take that vulnerability to heart and you say, these are my flaws, right? It's going to take a bit longer, because what happens is you sift through the fake, right? Because a guy who's not genuine, they can pretend to be somebody else to hook you in, right? And so if I'm, for a girl, if a guy, man, like, seems like they switched up, my mom always says this: when people show you their true selves, believe them, right? And I think that's right there. You believe that, right? And, there's grace in everything, because everybody messes up. But if you start talking to this guy or talking to this girl, and they seem like they're just a wonderful person, and all of a sudden anger issue, right? And it just flares up in this massive way, and they have never brought that up previously. I think that's something to look at with serious concern. Because a genuine guy isn't going to fake who he is, but someone who's just looking to get something out of you, they gladly will.
Yeah.
And so if they just want some, sexual satisfaction or emotional satisfaction or whatever, right? They can fake who you want them to be, right? For as long as they need to get whatever they need to get out of you. And then after that, they can switch up, right? And so it takes someone who's genuine a lot longer, because people aren't looking for the genuine. They're looking for what will satisfy their needs, right? And once again, this isn't to discourage anyone, because there are people out there who want the genuine you, but that just means it's going to take longer, right? And so we have to have enough standards for ourselves to say, I'm not going to pretend to be who they want me to be, so I can have the satisfying feeling of a relationship, because ultimately it's empty. Because like you said, like, if you're never being vulnerable, man, like you're not letting a person love the real you, just an image of you that you've conjured up. And like any image, after long enough and in the right circumstances, that image comes crumbling down. Because you can't fake every day. There are some days where you're going to be too tired to fake. And there's people who are in relationships, right, where they're in love with the idea of a person, but that person is never going to be that, right? But they can keep projecting it, and they'll flash it in short bursts to like keep that person in that relationship. But it's like, man, who are you loving? Are you loving them or the image of them?
Don't project potential. Pay attention to what's present.
I love it when you do that. So good. No, I think even this actually sparked another thought. I mean, you see people who like be in these toxic, borderline abusive relationships for a super long time. And I think that's what it is. It's this, love of that idea of that person, of who they think they can be, or who they even showed themselves to be for that short time until they got what they want. And then once they have that security, they kind of fall back into these, bad habits of who they truly are, right? And it's like, girl, man, like have enough respect for who you are and enough foundation in who you are to be okay without them, right? Because their toxicity isn't worth the good times. Their abusive, manipulative language isn't worth how he makes you or she makes you feel. Because at the end of the day, feelings are fading, right? But a healthy relationship, that's going to last, right? And a healthy relationship isn't going to be all good feelings all the time, right? But it's going to be something that's going to be last. They're going to be there with you when you're crying at 2:00 in the morning, right? Yeah. They're going to be with you at your lowest moment and at your highest moments to pull you down, and at your lowest moments to pull you up, right? That's a relationship you want. And I think a lot of people, that's what they're searching for, but they don't know how to look for it. And so I kind of want to ask you is like, how do you, I mean, obviously you're done with the search, hopefully. But what did it look like? Like, what were you looking for to find a relationship that lasts?
So, like you gave the premise, we're Christians, right? Yeah. So the first thing I'm looking for is if she a believer. Yeah. Because if you don't believe in Jesus, I'm gonna give you the pieces. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so she gotta have a foundation of faith. Yeah. Because like if I know that you're devoted to Christ, if I can trust and see the fruit in your life, then I know that we can bear fruit in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So like, number one, I have to see where her faith is. Yeah. But in order to do that, I think you have to get close with her. Not saying you have to be like best friends or anything, but talk to her in public spaces. Yeah. Hang out with her around her friends. See how she interacts with people other than you. Because like you said, if you like somebody, you can be exactly who that person needs you to be. But if she likes you and then Billy Bob and Billie Jean coming up to her with some nonsense, you gotta see how she responded to that. Yeah. Or you gotta see how like she engages in conversations with topics she don't really care about. Like you just gotta watch how she interacts with other people. Yeah. And then like Jesus said, bro, ain't nothing wrong with fruit inspection. Yeah. Watch her life. See what she does. See where she serves. See her heart. Yeah. And like when his heart as well for my women out there. But just try to learn that person. Yeah. But like don't get crazy emotionally invested because intimacy without commitment, as my brother Travis says, is dangerous. You know what I'm saying?
Whew. Shout out Trav. Intimacy without commitment is dangerous.
It is.
And that's so powerful. There's a quote from BoJack Horseman, of all places, right? That basically he says, if you have rose-colored glasses on, every red flag just looks like a normal one. That's a fire quote from a adult cartoon. But I think that is so powerful is that, like, man, you get intimate without commitment, you'll ignore a lot. You'll ignore a lot of the red flags. I mean, I think that's even why when the Bible codifies that sex is meant to be in marriage, right? There's a reason behind that is because you can't do good fruit inspection if you're already physically and emotionally committed, right? You'll just ignore those as little, he, screams a couple of times, but, it's not really that bad. Oh, yeah, she be talking, to a bunch of dudes, in private places, but I trust her. It's not really that bad, right? And you start ignoring these obviously problematic habits, right? Because you're committed to the physical and emotional aspects of it, right? And so it is super, super dangerous to engage in intimacy if you're not ready for that level of commitment. Because you're setting yourself up for a failure, right? Yeah. So if you two are doing girlfriend and boyfriend things and y'all don't have that title, man, you're setting yourself up for a lot of hurt because there's confusion there, right? If y'all don't have this understood intention of, hey, man, we're committed to each other, right? Confusion leads to chaos. Chaos leads to pain, right? And so in the chaos, she may or he may go out and do something with somebody else. But hey, y'all didn't have titles, right? So you can't say anything. There was no commitment there, right? And now you are hurting and feeling this pain that could have been avoided had y'all understood the intentions, right? Because I mean, I get it. Some people are in a stage of life where they just want to be casual, or we have our values and what we believe about marriage and sex, right? But like, not everybody has that values, right? But if you getting involved, right, in a relationship, y'all better have a very deep understanding of each other's values, because otherwise, the Bible, it talks about being unequally yoked, and that's what you're setting yourself up for, an unequally foundationed relationship, right? And so, man, figure out what they want first, right? And then, like you said, watch the fruit of their life. I mean, I talk to, once again, a lot of different people, and that's the number one thing I talk about is fruit inspection. Look at how they are interacting with the other aspects of their life. How are they treating their mom and dad? How are they treating their friends? What does their day-to-day habits look like? I mean, if you talking to this dude or this girl and all they do is, sit in a room playing League of Legends, doing nothing else with their life. Shout out to League of Legends. That's a cool game. So no diss to people who play League of Legends. But if that's all they got going on, they got no passions, they have no goals, none of that. Is that what you want to be tied down to for the rest of your life? No? Then why are you going to even entertain it, Like, why would you entertain something that if you say, man, this person 10 years from now, like, is there even a possibility? And if you're like, man, there's no way, then it's got to come to an end at some point, and that end is gonna hurt depending on how much y'all integrate y'all's lives. And so, man, investigate the fruit of their lives, how they interact with others, how they interact with themselves, how they interact with, things that, what are they doing when nobody's watching, right? Is there integrity there? Like, watch those things, because that shows you the character of a person, because the fruit of somebody's life, all that is evidence of their character, right? And so if the evidence of their character is piss poor, then they probably don't have a great character, right? But if the evidence of their character is they have life-giving relationships of friendships, life-giving habits, things that they participate in, they'll stop and encourage or talk to somebody, and they'll do things for someone knowing that they won't get anything in return. That shows evidence of healthy character. And when you have healthy character, that leads to a much more beautiful, smooth relationship that may still end, right? Because this isn't like guys, this is what you need to do, and you'll date this person and they'll never break up, and your life will be perfect, and you'll have 12 kids. And no, that's not how life works. Sometimes two really awesome people are just incompatible with each other, right? And that's okay. But what matters more, right, is that foundational character aspect. And I think that's what we do, is that society has elevated compatibility and has completely forgotten about character. Right? And what needs to happen is that character needs, like, compatibility is still important. If you're not attracted to somebody, don't date them,
Don't do that.
Like, why? Like, she has a great personality, but are you, like, it's okay to want to be attracted to somebody. It's okay to want to find them funny. If you're dating someone and they're not funny, you got to put up with unfunny jokes for a long time.
Hey, babe. Had a conversation with Dave at work today. And we talked about the printer machine, it ran out of ink. And babe, so we had to go down to the storage room and get the ink cartridge and load it up. And if you want your conversations to go like that, by all means,
hey, man,
ball out, my brother and sister in Christ.
But I would guarantee, man, there are a lot of people who don't want that, man. So compatibility is important, but it does not supersede character, right? And so you can be really compatible with somebody, and y'all can be the best of friends. They can be super attractive and super funny. But character outlasts compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day that person gonna get old. One day you're gonna get tired of the same joke you've heard 50 times. Like, I love my family, right? But we've had a circulation of stories that I've heard like 10 times from my mom, my dad, my sister, that I'm like, okay, y'all, I know the punchline. It's not funny. Like, you know, like I heard the story before. I know what y'all gonna say. I'm gonna give it a little, and I'm gonna keep on moving, right? I love my family, but then that just happens, right? Because I spent 18 years, 19 years on this earth with these people, my parents and my sister, right? So you just get tired of those people at some point, right? And so if all you have for your relationship is a foundation of compatibility, it's gonna fold, right? But when you have a foundation of character, even when those moments of y'all button heads, or, you know, they're in a really difficult season, so they're not able to give emotionally or physically in the way that, you know, it used to be, you can still stand firm because you fell in love with the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no longer about just how the body is doing or how the mind is doing. You fell in love with that soul. And so you love that soul. And that's the closest, you know, just type of relationship you can have, you know? And so, man, I think, man, we have to work on making character a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be friends before you get into a relationship, man.
Yeah.
Because, like, if all y'all just built off of, oh, she's bad, oh, he's fine, then, like, it won't last, bro.
Yeah.
Because, like, one thing that I like about me and my girlfriend's relationship is that we can just hang out with each other and just be friends.
Yeah.
Like, our dates, sometimes we just go to Wendy's, sweatpants, cracking jokes, and we chilling. You know, so, like, that's fun to us. So you got to be able to not only enjoy that person romantically, but, like, enjoy them as a friend.
Yeah.
Like, go walking, go, like, just do fun stuff the same things that you would do with friends. Like, try to invite them and graft them into those things.
Yeah.
Because, like, you want to have a friendship foundation on the relationship. Because, like you said, sometimes you won't like that person. You may love them, but sometimes you won't like them.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're not feeling that you have that friendship to fall back on. You know what? I might be mad at this person right now, but you know what? Like, I know the commitment that I made.
Yeah.
You know, I know the fun that we can still have. Right. You know, just friendship is very important, in my opinion.
No, I mean, my parents, you know, I love their marriage. Like, I'm so grateful for the marriage I've had modeled. You know, I have to say that since I just roasted them for their jokes. But
yeah, you need to check your food when you go back home, my boy.
No, Mama and Pops, I love you. I love your jokes. Keep telling them. Anyways, we're
gonna have a cold piece of chicken.
Gonna be frozen. I made you your plate, baby. Mama, it's not okay.
Your bird's still flying, bro.
But no, I mean, their marriage is just, I'm so grateful that I get to see that as a marriage. And I mean, like you said, you hit it on the nail. They're besties, you know, like they're friends.
We're best friends forever. We're Linda and Heather. You know,
best friends. Yeah, that was good. But man, I mean, you just see, like, they watch movies and they're just laughing and just enjoying it. And I think that's beautiful, and I think that's what you should strive for relationship is. You know, it may not be the thing that brings the most gratification immediately, but long term, man, you're building a solid foundation if you know, just how this person is interacting with. Because, I mean, like, you got to think about this, man. Lord willing, it gets that far, that's the mother of your kids. That's the father of your kids, right? So how are you okay with the person you're dating right now possibly being the mother or father of your kids? That's a hard question to ask because people don't like to think about that, right? But I mean, that's a serious thing you got to say. It's like, if this is meant to be forever, right? And we're meant to have a family. I mean, unless y'all just trying to have dogs for the rest of y'all life, man, like, you got to think about is, how is this person going to interact with my future kids, right? And so, man, I think it's about being, I think a lot of relationship advice boils down to this concept of delayed gratification and being future focused.
Yeah.
Like if you build toward the future, yeah, you'll be doing it untraditionally. Yeah, you may be single for a really long time. Yeah, there may be lonely seasons where you chilling in your room, while everybody out kicking it with their boo thing, and you just sitting there, playing video games. Not that I have any personal experience,
Hey,
but
bro, I know the feeling, man. You just took me back, fam.
and there gonna be moments like that, man, and that's okay, man. And it's so even okay to feel like, man, I wish I had a girl right now. Like it's okay to feel that way,
Yeah.
but man, don't let that temporary feeling cause you to lower your standards, right? Because young man, young woman, you deserve love, and you deserve someone who's going to love you for who you are, mind, body, and soul, and someone you can build a future with. And I think there's even some of that where there's a lot of young people who don't even believe that, right? And so they're just trying to find, the best that they can, right? Because there's a secret underlying belief that I'm not deserving of this love that you're talking about, DJ, or the love that, you see, my parents or, a pastor or, whatever, someone in your life model. It's like, yeah, you deserve that, right? You may not be ready for it, right? But you deserve it, right? And so you gotta, build yourself up towards that. We called Verge, shout out Verge, or Bryson called Verge here a little bit, and I just rapid fire, give me your best relationship advice, and Verge told me work on yourself, and so that I want to pivot once again towards this, specifically towards people who are single, because there's a lot of people who are maybe going like, yeah, that's great, guys, but I ain't got no one, so like this Valentine's I'm finna be chilling, so what am I gonna do with all this? And I think you can do a lot to build towards your future relationship in your single season. Like the time that you're single, it should be the time you're doing the most amount of work towards being ready for a relationship. You shouldn't be building towards a relationship in a relationship, right? You'll never be fully ready, but you should be farther along, right, than where you were 5-10 years ago. And I think the first thing to even say to that is just like be grateful for the singleness season. I mean, like Bryson, like even like you could probably speak towards that as you talked about and you mentioned it earlier, but like whether you think the value of being that single is in that singleness season.
Man, it's a blessing. Like it truly is, and I can say that whether I'm in a relationship or not in one. Like I said it when I was single, and I'm saying it now. It's a true blessing because like you just have time. Yeah. You have time to devote to just the things that you're passionate about. I'm not saying you can't do it in a relationship, but you just have more time on your hands to devote to the things that are just concerning you. So like devote time to those things, invest, to build some things, build yourself. I take it like this, like the person that's your dream person, be who you think that they will want to date. So work towards building that person. Yeah. Work towards building that person. Like singleness is truly a gift. It truly is, because you just have time to focus on, not a relationship. Yeah. But when you do get into a relationship, because you've maximized the singleness, because you've become content with, being on your own, when you do get into a relationship, it's like, you know what, now this is something that I get to add on into my life, and now I'm better prepared for it. It's not something that's my whole life is centered around, but it's something I get to add to it and build upon with my life. Right. You see what I'm saying? It's an added blessing. Yeah. It's not just the blessing. It's an added blessing, And I think you just got to have that focus and that mindset of, you know what, yes, I'm single right now. Yes, this sucks. Yes, I wish I had somebody to text and talk to right now, but it's okay. I'm going to use this time to invest in myself. I'm going to use this time to grow my faith. I'm going to use this time to grow my drawing skills, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Because who knows, like, you're shorty, your man. He might like, when you draw something for him. You make music. Yeah. You get good at producing beats, which you already are, but let's just say you produce a beat for your girl. You know what I'm saying? Like just it's small things that you can do now that your future person will appreciate.
That's that. You've been dropping bars, Bryce. That's so good. Dude, I mean, one of the things that like my youth pastor told me, Mike, several years ago, that I still remember this day is kind of along the lines of what you said is focus on becoming the right one, not finding the right one. Mm-hmm. Because, man, when you are someone who is complete in who they are, you're going to naturally attract people who are also complete in who they are, right? Mm-hmm. And like, if you are building towards working on yourself, right, you're in a way building towards that future relationship, right? Because a healthy relationship is between two complete people coming together, right? And being complete in who they are, you know, we believe being complete who they are with the Lord, right? And together building towards something, right? Because if your girlfriend is the foundation, is everything to you in life, that's unfair to her. Because she can't be 100% every day, right? So there's some days she gonna miss the mark. And if you're relying on her to be 100% every day, you're being unfair to her.
You can't put people in God's spot.
Amen. And the same thing, girls, you can't let your man be your everything, right? And we throw that term around, but like, I think that really means something is that like, yes, they are an important thing, right? They're one of the things, right?
Yes.
But they're not everything, because if they're everything, you're being unfair to them, right? Because they're going to have off days, right? God doesn't have an off day, right? And so if they're the foundation of your life, it's going to crumble. And then you're going to start to resent them, right? And then all of a sudden, those feelings of love are now being weaponized and are becoming feelings of unforgiveness, right? And, you know, one of the things that we said from our conversation that I think is powerful and has so many applications that I really wish I could speak to all of them. But I think this is such a powerful quote, or not quote because I said it, but anyways, a powerful thing that came from the conversation is, man, unforgiveness makes you idle the things you hate. When you hold unforgiveness, that just becomes something that dominates your headspace every day, right? And it becomes an idol. And we see it with young men who, oh, a girl broke my heart when I was 13, so now I have to be a heartbreaker for every woman, right? Like, we see that so much amongst young men who had a relationship that broke them, and now they have this unforgiveness, and now they're obsessed with women, right? And they're projecting this, oh, I don't care about girls, I don't care about none of that, right? Like, but they're obsessed because it dominates their thoughts of every day. How can I basically hurt someone like they hurt me, right? Like, when you get it down to that basic, that's exactly what it is, right? Yeah. And that's like a barbaric thing, right? And we mask it with the cool things, or it's just being the lover boy player persona, right? Yeah. But it's at its basic root, you trying to get back at someone who's no longer even in the picture and using other people basically as a punching bag. And so anyways, coming back to this concept of, man, like, you can't let that person be your foundation, right? Because if it ends, man, you're going to hold so much hurt, so much more hurt than you even had to if you would have just built the relationship healthily, And so, man, like, we can't let somebody be that everything, man. And I think when we become complete in who we are, man, we become complete in working in ourselves, man, like, we work towards becoming that right one, you're going to find the people, like, you're going to find the person, right? There's like this image, it's not the right word, visualization, that's the right word. There's this visualization of a triangle, right? And so you have, the man and the woman, right? And as they each, and then you have God right at the helm, right? And so as each of them grow, Lord, closer towards God, they grow closer to each other, right? And that's, I think, an amazing visualization of what you should see your singleness season as, is that there's someone over here, right? You may not even know who they are yet, and there's you right here, right? And the goal is that both of you guys grow. in a direction where you'll eventually end up meeting each other along the way. And you know, Bryson, you talk about this concept of purpose partner. What is a purpose partner, would you say?
A purpose partner is basically.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
You good, bro. You good. I'll give you an analogy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know how the Bible calls us to run our race?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm tending to the things that God has called me to.
Right.
Being the man, growing, just trying to nurture the life and steward what God has given me, right?
Yeah.
So as I'm running my races, I'm doing that. I'm stealing this from Pine Lake Pastor Austin.
Yeah.
I look up and I see, oh girl doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep running for right now.
Right.
Okay, I keep running. She getting a little closer.
Yeah.
Keep running. And eventually, like you said, y'all meet up. So it's like a purpose partner is someone who not only is someone you can do a relationship with romantically, but like y'all are killing it for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Y'all are adding life not only to yourselves, but life to other people. Is your relationship producing fruit that other people can eat off of? You see what I'm saying? So like me and my girlfriend, right? I think because we've been able to, you know, help each other, be a blessing to each other, we can go out and be blessings to other people.
Yeah.
And I think not only does, you know, our relationship get to be a testimony to others, not saying it's perfect or anything, like I only been in this joint for a year and 4 months, but being able to have someone who is like-minded, being able to have someone who is purpose-focused, who is purpose-driven, I get to speak life through my actions,
Right.
through the way I interact with her. And a purpose partner is essentially, like I said, is a relationship that produces fruit so other people can eat off of. And practically, like just both of y'all running your race and encouraging each other and just being there for one another as you run this race. So the more that you run this race, then the more that you inspire others. Because, like, you know, we see track runners. We got Usain Bolt, right? We appreciate Usain Bolt because he's super fast as freak. But we also got other track runners and they be running their race. But when we got let's just say somebody comes up and they runs as fast as Usain Bolt. Now we're like, dang, them two fast dudes.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And now we be like, maybe I need to do better.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to get myself together. So now, like, we see a great holy couple doing their thing. Like, dang, I want something like that. So a purpose partner, like I said, just repeat it again. Producing fruit from your relationship that other people can eat off of.
Dude, that's so good. No, that's oh my gosh, man. Like, that is so good. I think, man, like I've been a benefactor of the fruit, right? From my parents' relationship to Bryson, yours relationship to and like Verge's relationship and other people in my life who it's like, man, okay, these people are modeling just so well, just a kingdom relationship, right?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, language that is used, you know, kingdom of God relationship. And the fact that, like, man, y'all are pursuing each other, but over that, you're pursuing the Lord, right? And it creates the synergy that, like, y'all provide an amazing example. The way that you guys can encourage each other allows you to go out and encourage others. You guys push each other towards purpose when one person wanted to take a step back and say, well, you know, maybe I'm not, you know, qualified or capable of this. Man, you want someone who's going to be like, no, you can do it, right? And push you towards that, right? You know, like talking about being there for your lowest moments, right? And pulling you back down when you get too prideful at your highest moments. And so, man, I mean, I think that's the number one standard, right? And I think in that there's several characteristics of a purpose partner, being someone who you can be equally yoked with, you have the same values and same things like that. And that's not to say that you guys agree on everything. You know, the foundational aspects of who you are and, you know, y'all's worldview, they need to be the same, right? And so, you know, it plays a part in it, and also the fruit of the character of who they are. But I think also just practically speaking, while I do believe a purpose partner is the number one standard, I think you need to also have, if it's a literal list, like I have a literal list written down of standards, or if it's just something that you
come back to as a mental note, but have a list of standards, right? And have your non-negotiables and then your preferences, right? Because not every preference needs to be a non-negotiable. If you want someone who's athletic, right? I mean, there's no problem with that, right? But if you find someone who loves the Lord and has great character, and they may not be a super athlete, right? They may just be some normal guy or some normal girl, right? That's not a non-negotiable, and you need to be okay with that, right? Like, understanding what a relationship needs to have, and then what you hope for in a relationship. I think there's nothing wrong with that, and that's a very practical thing that people don't do, because you can't even find the right one if you don't know what the right one looks like, right? And so the right one looks like the way you figure out what the right one looks like is growing in yourself, right? And learning to have that maturity to be able to differentiate between, okay, these are the things that are most valuable and these are the things that aren't, right? And as you do that, man, your radar and your ability to see who that purpose partner may be becomes that much more in tune, right? And it's no longer you throwing darts in the dark, but it is you having, like that machine that like be in the sand where it picks up like the valuables at a beach.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what becoming more emotionally mature, growing in who you are, it allows you to do that. It allows you to find the valuables in the mix of dirt. And I think, and nobody's dirt, but like for the sake of that analogy, it's finding what is your valuable, right? Because what is, your value may not be somebody else's valuable, and that's okay, right? And it's figuring that out, and the way you figure that out is by growing in who you are, and just practically doing a lot of self-reflection and figure out, okay, this is what I believe are non-negotiables in a relationship, and then these are what are just preferences that I hope for. And I believe, it talks about in the Bible, if you, who are a mere human, give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father? I believe God will bless you with someone. Like, you're not going to be unhappy and be like, oh, well, this is what God wanted, But you're going to be happy, right? It's going to be happy. And not every moment will be happy, but you will be in a happily married, relationship if you do it, God's way, right? And you take time to be okay with it just being you and God. And so, man, I think there's one more thought that I had, because I see we're already a minute and 13 minutes in. Shout out to
a minute and 13 minutes.
Yeah, that's
what I'm talking about, boy. Nah, for real. I gotta chill out with that light voice, bro. I can't let people think I ain't no thug for real, man.
Right.
I mean, I ain't no thug, bro. I love Jesus.
You can be a thug. No.
Right. I'm not.
Right,
I'm a country boy from Batesville, Mississippi.
I feel, but no, an hour and 14 and a half minutes now. But anyways, I think there's one thing that I wanted to speak to that I've just once again seen, and I believe that the Holy Spirit kind of revealed to me in just quiet time. And it's just that one thing I hear a lot from people who will talk to me, we'll talk about relationships, they'll say something along the lines of, DJ, I don't pick them, they just come to me, right? These bad guys just find their way to me. These bad girls just find their way to me, right? And to that, I say I just don't believe that's the case, right? I think there are bad apples in any environment, but the question I would pose to anyone who says that is, where are you at that is making yourself so accessible to these bad apples?
Message.
I mean, are you going to be finding a whole lot of husband material at the club? Are you going to be finding a whole bunch of wife material at the club? That's a hard pill to swallow, but I think it's a real one. And that's, once again, not to say, I mean, I've been to parties and stuff like that. And so I'm not saying that everybody who's at a party or is at the club is a sinner, right? That's not what the message I'm communicating is that where are you spending the most time in? Because if you're spending the most time in environments that attract bad apples, all you're going to be seen by is bad apples. If you're in an environment with a community who is just a positive community, who, a godly community, something that it brings life, a life-giving community, they're not going to tolerate that many bad apples, right? Because that's going to bring down, right, that life, right, that life-giving fruit, right? And so if you're surrounding yourself with healthy community, you're surrounding yourself with and putting yourself in environments, whether it be in churches or be in service organizations and areas like that, you're going to find there's going to be a lot less bad apples that come to you. And once again, bad apples are everywhere, right? They're in the church. They're in, life-giving communities. They're in service organizations. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a foolproof plan, but I think it's something that we have to think about is that, like, if you're putting yourself in situations to be seen by a lot of these bad apples, one thing about bad apple guys or girls is they confident, right? They're going to approach. Well, I see in it, right? Like, they are willing to approach, right? And so it's not necessarily that these bad guys keep finding you, is that you keep putting yourself in environments to be found by bad people, right? And once again, this is an analogy. It's not in the sense to say that there are, someone who made a mistake in a relationship is a bad person or whatever, but it is to say, where are you finding yourself in? And where are you growing yourself in? Because, you're not going to find a diamond in garbage, right? You're just not, right? Or if you are, it's very extremely rare. So if you're not going to the diamond mine to find diamonds, but you keep going back to that garbage, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing the exact same way and expecting a different result. And I think there's so much truth to that in a relationship context, is that if these, you just keep going back to the guys in your DMs or to the girls who are, who are fine and who are, at the club or whatever, right? And it keeps not working out, then maybe it may be time to try something else. Maybe the area you're looking at is not the area that you're going to find what you're looking for. And I think that's just something that, I don't know, I've just really felt to speak to, because that's like one of the number one things I hear, women and men say is, DJ, it's not me. It's these guys, these girls, they keep finding me, right? And I think it takes humility to say, well, do I enjoy some of that attention that I get from these, bad apples or whatever? And it takes humility to say, is like, am I even a person who, if, the man of my dreams, if they walked in and they, were handsome and they loved the Lord and they good with kids, or the woman of my dream walked in and she's beautiful and, she's just someone who serves, has a servant heart, super compassionate. If that person walked in, how would I be someone they would be interested in? And I think that's a humbling question to ask, but I think it's one of so much value, because, man, it goes back to what you were saying, Bryson. Like, we have to work on more becoming the right one, right? And so, yeah, that's just one final thing I wanted to add. Is there anything you want to add as we close out this episode?
Just building off of what you said, there's liberty and boundaries. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes these people just come out the woodworks. They'll come to you. Be okay with saying no. Because, like, sometimes I've seen it before. It's like these people come up to them and ask them to do these things, or like try to shoot their shot, and they egg it on. Yeah. Like, don't do that. Like, if you know this is not who you want or what you desire out of a person, don't egg it on. Like, say no.
That's good.
There's nothing wrong with boundaries.
Right. No, and I know we got to wrap up, but I think that, one thing that you just said is, like, man, like, I think we get obsessed with having options, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if this doesn't work out, then I want this, right? And I think that all that does is stoke lust, and it just stokes instability, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you finally find the diamond, right, if you got all these attachments to trash, right, it's gonna make going to that diamond even that much harder, right? Mm-hmm. Because you got to now remove yourself from all these relationships, and once again, that even goes into a context of how you're handling the relationships you're currently in, right? Because if you're creating all this baggage from all these relationships, man, all you're doing is making it harder for the person that you're meant to be with forever. Because then you got to unpack all that dirt that you got, right, from all these previous relationships that you didn't do right. You got to unpack all of that with that person. And once again, it goes back, it's not fair to that person to do that. So like, if for nothing else, do it for your future self and for your future spouse, right? Just handling, the women and the men and women with respect, right, that you interact with, right? In everything, even if you do have a romantic relationship that doesn't end well, honoring the person that you were in a relationship with. I mean, I think that's important, man, because I just think about myself. Like, I wouldn't say like I was hideous in high school or anything like that. Like I wasn't hideous, man, but I wasn't like, just the guy.
Chill, bro. Chill.
Like I wasn't like, the lady killer in high school, right? And that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter to me nowadays. But like when I got to college, a lot of like it was the first time I'm getting like a lot of attention from girls, right? What? And like it was a new experience to me, and I've talked about it earlier. It was a point where I had to make a choice of like, man, do I want to continue to try and do this in an honorable way, or do I just want to wild out? And man, like I could have, man, like I say this with all humility.
Don't do it, DJ.
But like if I wanted to be in a relationship, I believe that I could be, right? And so, man, and furthermore, I'll even take it a step further. If I wanted to be, out in these streets,
don't do it, DJ.
I could have been, man. And then, I grew my hair out. I, got better style. I did stuff like that, right? And so, man, I could have gone out and I could have, been out in these streets, treating being a heartbreaker, doing the toxic lover boy type stuff, right? And in that, it would have been so much fun, right? I'd have had a blast, right? This selfish version of love, right? Where I get what I need from this girl. I'll tell her what she wants to hear. Because, I'm blessed with the ability to communicate. I can communicate my way into, a bed that's not mine. Like I'm being like for real.
Boy,
right?
selling salt to a snail.
Yeah. And like I like that's true. Like, and I could have had so much fun with this version of selfish love, but in that would have been a pathway of destroyed relationship and destruction that young women would have had to work through, and that I would eventually had to work through whenever I found that forever person. And so it's just not worth it, man. That lifestyle of, man, different girl, different guy, options, whatever. I can text whoever I want. That's not worth it, man. And, I didn't have to experience to know. I just know people who have gone through it and literally had people, like I'm talking crying in my arms, like, DJ, this, like, I feel horrible, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I wish, like, I need God in my life. I need stuff like this, man. Yes, it's fun, but is the destruction that it leaves in your soul and in others worth it? And I think that's something that is a question we all have to ask ourselves. So that's the final thought. It's
a lot harder to get on the plane when you got a lot more baggage.
That's good. Well, shoot, man. We close out this episode. I knew this episode was going to be longer.
I didn't.
Really?
Nah, man. I thought we was finna be in about 20 minutes and get up out of here. You feel me?
Nah, bro. Love is a complicated topic. I'm pretty sure we could do a whole nother podcast episode on it.
For real.
But, man, I think.
I think.
I'm tired of you, bro.
I'm tired of you, bro.
Anyways.
Make sure y'all like and subscribe, share.
Yeah.
Follow the Instagram, follow the TikTok.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Young Vagabond on all platforms.
All platforms, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm your co-host, DJ. And it's your co-host, Bryson. And what do we say, Bryson?
Man, do I really be talking like that,
bro? You talk like that all the time.
People be telling me I sound like a flirt, bro. I don't see it, bro. I don't think I do, but I guess
you don't see it, but we hear it.
That's a knee slapper. Well, shoot, man. Well, guys, let me tell you. But for real, man, I appreciate y'all for rocking with the pod as always, man. Y'all have a blessed one. Enjoy y'all's Valentine's Day. Hope y'all had someone. If y'all didn't, man, it's gonna be all right, bro. Cause I mean, it's just more time to work on yourself. Yeah, man. Y'all be, I was about to say your catchphrase. I'm sorry, but man, I think that's it. Of course, is everything. Watch, subscribe, share, buy some merch, do all those things. But we love you guys, and we thank y'all, of course, for always being with us through the journey. So Bryce, what do we say?
Y'all be blessed. Don't stress. Do less and let God take care of the rest. This is DJ Hardy. We out.
Yeah.
I need a bag. Como se dice? I make a banger that got it on